My fiancé's family threatened. We'll ruin your wedding to stop this mistake. My wife and I just grinned. Go ahead. We secretly switched venues and sent her family fake invites to the old location. On our wedding day, her brother was desperately calling us, wondering where everyone was. I never thought I'd be the type to pull off an elaborate revenge plot, especially for my own wedding. But when you love someone enough and their toxic family pushes you to the edge, you'd be surprised what you're capable of. My fiancée and I had been together for 4 years before I proposed. From day one, her family made it clear I wasn't good enough. According to them, I didn't have the right job as I'm a firefighter, and I didn't come from the right background. And worst of all, I was taking their daughter away by encouraging her to pursue her own dreams instead of the law career they'd mapped out for her. The proposal happened during a weekend trip to the mountains. It was perfect, just us, the sunset, and a ring I'd saved up for over a year to buy. When we called her parents to share the news, the silence on the other end was deafening before her father coldly said, "We'll discuss this when you get back." Not exactly the congratulations we were hoping for. Things escalated at the celebration dinner. Her parents insisted on hosting. What started as passive-aggressive comments about rushing into marriage turned into a full-blown intervention. Her mother cried about how we were making a terrible mistake. Her father questioned my ability to provide. Her brother, always the family attack dog, suggested I was only after their money. My fiancée stood her ground beautifully. "This is happening whether you approve or not," she told them, squeezing my hand under the table. That's when her father dropped the bomb. "If you go through with this wedding, we'll make sure it's a disaster. We won't let you embarrass this family with a mistake you'll regret forever." We left that night with my fiancée in tears, but also with a strange sense of clarity. These people weren't going to change, and they weren't bluffing about sabotaging our wedding. So instead of fighting them, we decided to outsmart them. The plan came together over late-night whispers and secret meetings with our closest friends. We'd continue planning the wedding at the country club her parents had generously offered to pay for. We'd send out invitations, book vendors, and act completely normal. But behind the scenes, we were planning our actual wedding at a beautiful lakeside venue 2 hours away. The months leading up to the wedding were an exercise in deception. We attended cake tastings and floral appointments for a wedding that would never happen. My fiancée pretended to cave to her mother's demands for a massive 300-person guest list full of business associates and distant relatives she barely knew. I nodded along as her father lectured me about the proper way to address the toast. All the while, we were working with a small team of trusted friends to plan our real wedding. We found a photographer who understood our situation and agreed to keep everything confidential. We chose wildflowers instead of the elaborate arrangements her mother wanted. We selected a menu of our favorite foods rather than the pretentious 7-course meal her parents insisted on. The trickiest part was the guest list. We had to figure out who among our friends and extended family could be trusted not to leak our plans. We ended up with about 50 people we knew would keep our secret and truly wanted to celebrate our love, not just make an appearance at a social event. 2 weeks before the wedding, we sent out emergency update emails to our real guests with the actual venue information, swearing them to secrecy and explaining the situation. The responses were overwhelmingly supportive, with many offering to help however they could. For her family and their social circle, we kept up the charade. Final fittings, rehearsal dinner plans, all proceeding as if the country club wedding was still happening. Her brother even cornered me at the rehearsal dinner, whispering that I could still back out with some dignity if I wanted to. I just smiled and said I couldn't wait for tomorrow. The morning of our wedding day, my fiancée and I checked into separate rooms at a hotel near our actual venue. We sent a group text to her family confirming we'd see them at the country club at 3 p.m. Then we turned off our phones and got ready for our real wedding. Our ceremony was everything we wanted. My fiancée walked down a petal-strewn path in a simple but stunning dress she'd chosen herself, not the overpriced monstrosity her mother had insisted on. Our closest friends stood beside us as we exchanged vows we'd written ourselves. There wasn't a dry eye as we promised to always protect each other and our happiness. A vow that felt especially meaningful given what we were pulling off. After the ceremony, during our first dance, my best man approached with our phones. "I think you might want to see this," he said with a grin. We had 17 missed calls from her brother, 8 from her mother, and 5 from her father. The voicemails progressively went from confused to panicked to furious. "Where is everyone? The officiant is here, but none of the guests have arrived. This isn't funny anymore. People are starting to leave. Call me back immediately. I don't know what game you're playing, but you've embarrassed this entire family. Dad is livid." The final voicemail, left just minutes before, was from her brother. "We're at the country club. The staff is setting up, but there's no bride, no groom, and no guests except for us and the Andersons. What the hell is going on? Where is everyone? My wife and I just looked at each other and burst out laughing. We sent a single text to her family with a photo of us at our real wedding, surrounded by people who actually cared about us, with the caption, "We decided to only invite people who support our marriage. Enjoy the country club." Then we turned our phones off again and rejoined our celebration. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. Her family was humiliated in front of their social circle. They'd been forced to explain to their arriving guests that there was apparently some venue confusion. Her father had to pay for a party that never happened. We enjoyed a week-long honeymoon with our phones mostly off, returning to an avalanche of threats and guilt trips. Her mother claimed we'd given her father heart problems from the stress. Her brother threatened legal action for the emotional damage we'd caused. Her extended family was divided, with some secretly reaching out to say they admired our backbone. My wife decided to take a step back from her family after that. Not a complete cutoff, but limited contact on our terms. It's been 6 months now, and while things are still tense, there's been a shift in the power dynamic. They know now that their threats and manipulation won't work anymore. Last week, we received an unexpected call from her father. He asked if we would be willing to come over for dinner, just the 4 of us. No agenda, no lectures, just a meal. My wife was skeptical but curious. "Should we go?" she asked me that night. I kissed her forehead and said, "It's your call. But remember, we've already proven we can handle whatever they throw at us." She smiled that smile I fell in love with, the one that's both mischievous and determined. "Let's give them one more chance. But this time, we're bringing our own car so we can leave whenever we want. That dinner is tomorrow night. I don't know if it's an olive branch or another trap. But what I do know is that my wife and I are a team that can't be intimidated or controlled. We've already had our perfect day, surrounded by real love and support. Everything else is just noise. And if they try anything else, well, we've gotten pretty good at planning surprises of our own." Update 1. The dinner with her parents was surprising. We arrived prepared for the worst, rehearsing exit strategies and agreeing on code words if either of us needed to escape. Her father opened the door looking older somehow. The confident businessman facade cracked around the edges. The house felt different too. Usually a showcase of their wealth and status, it now seemed quieter, less intimidating. Her mother greeted us with awkward hugs, her smile strained but seemingly genuine. Dinner was tense at first, everyone carefully avoiding the elephant in the room. We discussed safe topics, the weather, a new restaurant downtown, my recent promotion at the fire department. Then, as her mother served dessert, her father cleared his throat. "What you did was unexpected," he began, choosing his words carefully. "We were humiliated, yes. But after the anger faded, your mother and I had some long conversations about why you felt you needed to go to such extremes." My wife gripped my hand under the table as her father continued. "I'm not good at admitting when I'm wrong. But I was wrong about you," he said, looking directly at me. "And we were wrong to threaten your wedding. That was unacceptable behavior." It wasn't quite an apology, but from him, it was monumental. Her mother added, "We've always wanted what's best for our daughter. We just couldn't see that you were what's best for her." My wife was crying silently beside me. I could feel her relief and her skepticism. This was the first crack in their perfect facade, the first acknowledgement that their behavior had consequences. The evening ended with cautious plans to try monthly family dinners. As we drove home, my wife was quiet, processing. "Do you think they mean it?" she finally asked. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But they're making an effort. We can give them the chance to prove it on our terms." She nodded, leaning her head on my shoulder. "Our wedding day was perfect, you know, even with all the drama. Maybe especially because of it." I couldn't help but laugh. Nothing says till death do us part like pulling off a heist together. Update 2. 3 months of cautious family dinners later, we thought we were making progress. Her parents seemed to be accepting our boundaries. Her mother even asked to see our wedding photos and didn't criticize my wife's dress choice. Then came her brother's engagement announcement. The family group chat exploded with excitement. Her parents immediately started planning an engagement party at their country club, the same one where our fake wedding was supposed to happen. The irony wasn't lost on us. We were invited, of course. My wife wanted to go, to support her brother despite their complicated relationship. I agreed, though I had my reservations. The engagement party was a study in contrasts to our wedding. Everything was extravagant, from the champagne tower to the live string quartet. Her brother's fiancée came from the same social circle, with the right family connections and career aspirations. Her parents were beaming with pride all evening. The breaking point came during her father's toast. "To a perfect match that makes the family proud," he said, raising his glass. "This is what a proper union looks like." The dig was subtle but unmistakable. My wife's face flushed, and I could feel her tense beside me. Before I could react, she stood up, glass in hand. "I'd like to make a toast too," she announced, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hand. The room quieted, all eyes on her. "To my brother and his fiancée. May your marriage be as happy and authentic as mine is. And may you have the courage to create the wedding and life you want, not the one others expect of you." She raised her glass, took a sip, and sat down. The silence was deafening before awkward applause broke out. Her brother looked conflicted, torn between family loyalty and acknowledging the truth in her words. As we left early that night, her father caught my arm at the door. "You've changed her," he said, his voice low. "She never would have embarrassed the family like that before." I looked him straight in the eye. "I didn't change her. I just helped her find the strength to be who she always was." On the drive home, my wife was quiet again, but this time with a small, satisfied smile. "No regrets?" I asked. "Not a single one," she replied. "Though I think we just got uninvited from the wedding." We both laughed, the tension breaking. Whatever came next with her family, we'd face it together, on our terms, not theirs. Update 3. A year has passed since our wedding day deception, and life has taken some unexpected turns. Her brother's wedding came and went, without us. The invitation never arrived, which wasn't surprising after the engagement party toast. What was surprising was the phone call my wife received a week after his honeymoon. "Can we meet for coffee?" her brother asked, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Just us." My wife agreed, curious but cautious. She returned from that coffee meeting with tears in her eyes and a story I never expected. Her brother had confessed that his wedding day felt hollow, a performance for their parents rather than a celebration of love. Standing at the altar, watching his bride walk down the aisle in a dress she hated but their mother had selected, he couldn't help thinking about us and our courage to do things our way. He actually admired what we did, my wife told me, still shocked. He said he wished he'd had the guts to stand up to them like we did. This revelation led to a slow reconciliation between my wife and her brother. They started meeting regularly, rebuilding their relationship without their parents' influence. He even came to our house for dinner a few times, getting to know me as a brother-in-law rather than an enemy. Her parents remained more complicated. The monthly dinners continued, though with varying degrees of success. Some nights ended in tense silence, others in cautious connection. Progress wasn't linear, but it was happening. The real breakthrough came unexpectedly. Her father had a health scare, not the manipulative kind her mother had claimed after our wedding, but a genuine minor heart attack that shook the family. In the hospital waiting room, with the veneer of perfection stripped away by fear, real conversations finally happened. "Life's too short," her father told us when we visited his hospital room. "I've spent too much time trying to control outcomes instead of appreciating what's right in front of me." Recovery changed him. He retired from his high-pressure job, started taking walks with her mother, and even asked if I would teach him about basic home repairs, something he'd always paid others to handle. It wasn't a complete personality transplant, but it was a shift toward authenticity that none of us expected. Last month, for our first anniversary, her parents surprised us with a gift, a framed photo from our real wedding day. It was a picture we hadn't seen before, one our photographer had captured without us noticing, my wife and I laughing together during the reception, completely lost in our own world. "This is what marriage should look like," the card read in her mother's handwriting. "We were wrong. We're sorry." Those 3 words, "we were sorry," represented a seismic shift in our family dynamics. Not perfect, not complete, but a start. Tonight, we're hosting a dinner at our home. Her parents and brother will be there, along with a few of our closest friends who helped pull off our wedding day switch. It's the first time both worlds will collide, and I'm both nervous and hopeful. My wife just walked in as I was writing this, wrapping her arms around me from behind. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Just reflecting on how one act of rebellion changed everything," I replied. She kissed my cheek and smiled. "Sometimes you have to break something to fix it properly." As I hear her family's car pulling into our driveway, I realize she's right. Our wedding day deception wasn't just about revenge. It was a declaration of independence that ultimately forced everyone to confront the truth. And sometimes, that's the greatest gift you can give a family trapped in patterns of control and pretense. The doorbell rings. Time to see what the next chapter holds.